Before we get into the story, leave a comment and let us know what city you're watching from. And don't forget to rate the story from 0 to 10 at the end. Enjoy the story. The hotel lobby smelled like expensive leather and fresh lilies, the kind of scent that reminded you exactly how much you didn't belong there. Emma Parker clutched her worn duffel bag closer, acutely aware that her clearance rack sundress probably cost less than the doorman's tie. But her best friend's bachelorette weekend was happening at the Meridian Grand, and there was no way she was missing it, even if it meant maxing out her credit card for 2 nights in paradise. "Checking in for the Martinez party," Emma said to the front desk clerk, a woman whose sleek bun probably had its own insurance policy. The clerk's perfectly manicured fingers flew across the keyboard, her expression shifting from professional courtesy to mild confusion, then back again so quickly Emma almost missed it. "Ah, yes, Miss Parker. Room 2847. Here's your keycard." The clerk slid the small plastic card across the marble counter with a smile that didn't quite reach her eyes. "The elevators are to your right. Enjoy your stay." Emma grabbed the keycard and headed toward the elevator bank, already mentally calculating how many instant ramen packs she'd need to survive the week after this splurge. The elevator ride to the 28th floor felt like ascending into another dimension. The hallway was hushed, carpeted in deep burgundy that swallowed the sound of her footsteps. Gold-framed mirrors lined the walls, each one reflecting back a version of herself that looked increasingly out of place. Room 2847 was at the end of the corridor. Emma pressed the keycard against the reader, and the light flickered green. Thank God. She'd half expected it to reject her on principle. She pushed the door open, already thinking about that heavenly hotel bed, and maybe ordering the cheapest room service item just to say she'd done it, when she froze. The room was not empty. More specifically, there was a man in the room. Even more specifically, there was a half-naked man in the room, standing with his back to her in the process of pulling on a dress shirt. The late afternoon light streaming through the floor-to-ceiling windows turned his skin golden, highlighting the sculpted muscles of his back and shoulders. For a second, Emma's brain short-circuited. Unable to process the unexpected wall of masculine perfection before her, then reality crashed back in. She was in someone else's room. She'd just walked in on a stranger changing. This was a nightmare scenario that her anxious brain had literally kept her awake worrying about, and now it was actually happening. "Oh my God, I'm so sorry," Emma yelped, slapping her hand over her eyes, but not before her traitorous brain had already photographed and filed away every detail of what she'd seen. She spun around, facing the door, her face burning hot enough to set off the sprinkler system. The key worked, and I thought this was my room, and I'm just going to leave right now and pretend this never happened. She was already backing toward the door when his voice stopped her. It was deep, smooth, with an edge of amusement that made her stomach flip in a way that had nothing to do with embarrassment. "The key worked," he repeated. There was a rustling sound, presumably him making himself decent. "What room number is on your key card?" Emma peeked at the small envelope the clerk had given her, her hand shaking slightly. 2847. "See? This is 2847. So clearly I was given the right key, and you're the one who's in the wrong room. And oh my God, I sound insane right now. You can turn around. I'm clothed." Emma slowly turned, keeping her gaze fixed firmly on a point somewhere near his left shoulder. Except looking at his shoulder meant seeing how the white dress shirt fit across his broad chest, and that led to noticing his strong jawline. And before she could stop herself, she was looking directly at his face. And oh no. Oh no. No, no. He was gorgeous. Devastatingly. Unfairly. Probably. Illegal in several states. Gorgeous. Dark hair that looked artfully tousled. Sharp cheekbones. And eyes so intensely blue They looked like they could see straight through her clearance rack dress and into her student loan debt. "This is definitely room 2847, he said, a small smile playing at the corner of his mouth. "And I've been staying here for 3 days. So unless the hotel has suddenly decided to implement some kind of timeshare situation without telling me, there's been a mix-up at the front desk." Emma wanted the floor to open up and swallow her whole. "I'm so sorry. I'll just go down and sort this out. And you can forget this ever happened. And I promise I'm not some kind of creepy person who goes around walking in on people changing." "I believe you." You turned about 7 different shades of red. If you were a professional creeper, you'd probably have a better poker face. He was buttoning his shirt now, which should have made the situation less awkward, but somehow made it worse, because now she was watching his fingers work the buttons and thinking thoughts that were absolutely inappropriate for someone who'd just committed breaking and entering. "Right. Okay. I'm leaving now." Emma hitched her duffel bag higher on her shoulder and reached for the door handle. "Wait." Something in his voice made her pause. He walked over to the phone on the bedside table, and she tried very hard not to notice how he moved with the kind of confidence that came from never doubting you belonged anywhere. "Let me call down to the front desk. If they mixed up the rooms, they need to know. You really don't have to. I want to." He picked up the phone, pressed a button, and waited. "Yes, this is Alexander Hawthorne in room 2847. There's been some kind of error with the keycards. A guest just entered my room with a key that apparently also works on my door." A pause. "Yes, I'll hold." Alexander Hawthorne. Even his name sounded expensive. Emma shifted her weight from foot to foot, trying to figure out where to look. The room itself was massive, easily 3 times the size of her apartment. A king bed dominated the space, still perfectly made with what had to be 1,000 thread count sheets. A laptop sat open on the desk, next to a stack of papers, and what looked like architectural blueprints. The minibar probably cost more to stock than her monthly grocery budget. "Yes, I'm still here," Alexander said into the phone. His jaw tightened slightly. "I see. And how exactly does a system error result in giving 2 different guests access to the same room?" Another pause. "That's not an acceptable answer, but we'll discuss it in person. Please send someone up immediately to resolve this. And find out what room, miss." He glanced at Emma with a raised eyebrow. "Parker." "Emma Parker," she supplied weakly. "What room Miss Parker should actually be in. Thank you." He hung up, and the smile he turned on her was probably meant to be reassuring, but instead made her heart do an uncomfortable acrobatic routine. "They're sending someone up. Apparently there was a system glitch when they were processing check-ins. You're not crazy, and you're not a criminal. Just unlucky." "Story of my life," Emma muttered, then immediately wished she could take it back because she sounded pathetic. "I mean, thank you for being so understanding about this. Most people would probably have called security. Most people don't get interrupted by beautiful women." The words came out smooth and easy, like he said things like that all the time. He probably did. Men who looked like him and had names like Alexander Hawthorne probably had entire departments dedicated to complimenting women. Emma's face heated again. "I think the technical term is bumbling intruder, but sure, let's go with beautiful." He laughed, a genuine sound that made the corner of his eyes crinkle. "You have a sense of humor about it. I appreciate that. Some people would be threatening lawsuits right now." "Oh, I'm way too broke to sue anyone. The legal fees alone would bankrupt me." Emma said it like a joke, but the truth of it sat heavy in her chest. Besides, this was the hotel's mistake, not yours. You're the victim here. I've been called many things, but victim is a new one. Alexander leaned against the desk, crossing his arms in a way that made his shirt pull across his shoulders. So, Emma Parker, what brings you to the Meridian Grand? Business or pleasure? Bachelorette party for my best friend, Emma said, grateful for a normal topic of conversation that didn't involve her mortification. She's getting married next month, and apparently the universe decided I hadn't humiliated myself enough in life, so it arranged this special moment. Well, in the universe's defense, it could have been worse. I could have been completely naked. Emma made a strangled sound that was half laugh, half dying animal. Please don't put that image in my head. I'm already going to have to avoid eye contact with every mirror in this hotel for the next 2 days. 2 days. Something flickered in his expression, too quick to read. Short trip. It's all I could afford. Everyone else is staying the whole weekend, but I'm flying out Sunday morning. She didn't know why she was telling him this. Maybe because he'd been kind about the whole situation, or maybe because there was something about him that made her feel like she could be honest without being judged. Worth it, though. Sarah's been my best friend since college. I'd sleep in the lobby if I had to. Before Alexander could respond, there was a sharp knock at the door. He moved to answer it, and Emma took the opportunity to check her reflection in the window. Yep, still looked like she'd been hit by a truck made of embarrassment. Her hair had frizzed in the humidity outside. Her mascara had smudged slightly, and there was a coffee stain on her dress that she'd somehow failed to notice until this exact moment. Perfect. A harried-looking hotel manager rushed in, followed by the front desk clerk from earlier, who now looked significantly less composed. Mr. Hawthorne, I cannot apologize enough for this inexcusable error. Our system experienced a glitch during the afternoon check-in rush, and somehow Miss Parker's keycard was coded to your room instead of hers. Which is room what, exactly? Alexander asked, his tone polite, but with an underlying edge that made Emma glad she wasn't on the receiving end of it. Room 2448, the manager said, turning to Emma with the apologetic smile. 2 floors below, same position. It appears the system dropped a number during processing. We've already recoded your key, and as an apology for this incident, we'd like to upgrade you to a deluxe suite at no additional charge. Emma blinked. A suite? You really don't have to. We absolutely insist, the manager said firmly. Room 3016. It has a separate living area, upgraded amenities, and a complimentary bottle of champagne. It's the least we can do for this inconvenience. Inconvenience to her or to me? Alexander asked dryly. Because I'm pretty sure I'm the one who got walked in on. The manager's smile became slightly strained. Of course. Mr. Hawthorne, we'll be comping your entire stay as well, along with a full spa package and dinner at our rooftop restaurant. Again, our sincerest apologies. The spa package won't be necessary, but I'll take you up on the dinner. For 2. Alexander glanced at Emma. If Miss Parker is willing to accept an invitation as an apology for her having to see me half-dressed. Emma's brain stuttered to a halt. I'm sorry, what? Dinner. Tonight. My apology for your trauma. His eyes held that amused glint again, like he knew exactly how off balance he was throwing her and was enjoying it. You want to apologize to me? I'm the one who barged into your room. And I'm the one who traumatized you with my state of undress. I think dinner is the least I can do. He said it so smoothly, so naturally. Like inviting random women who accidentally broke into his room was just something he did on Thursdays. The manager and desk clerk were watching this exchange with barely concealed fascination. Emma's mind raced. This was insane. She didn't know this man. He could be a serial killer who targeted awkward women at hotels, except serial killers probably didn't stay in rooms that cost more per night than her monthly rent. and they probably didn't look at her like she was something interesting instead of something to be tolerated. "I'm here for a bachelorette party," Emma said slowly. "I have plans tonight." "What time do your plans end?" "I don't know." "Late? We're doing the whole thing. Dinner, bar hopping, probably some regrettable karaoke." "Perfect. Late means I can make a reservation for 11. The restaurant stays open until midnight on Fridays. He pulled out his phone, fingers moving across the screen with practiced ease. "There. Done. Meet me in the lobby at 10:50. "You just made a reservation without knowing if I'd say yes?" "You haven't said no yet." He had a point. Emma knew she should decline. This was weird, right? This whole situation was weird. You didn't have dinner with strange men you met by accidentally breaking into their hotel rooms. That was how horror movies started. But when was the last time someone had looked at her the way Alexander was looking at her right now? Like she was worth pursuing? Like she was interesting enough to warrant a last-minute reservation at what was probably an absurdly expensive restaurant? "Fine," Emma heard herself say. "But I reserve the right to bail if you turn out to be a serial killer." "Fair enough. I reserve the right to bail if you turn out to be a professional hotel room infiltrator." The manager cleared his throat delicately. "Shall I show you to your new room, Miss Parker?" Emma nodded, collecting her duffel bag. As she followed the manager to the door, she glanced back at Alexander. He was watching her with an expression she couldn't quite read, something between amusement and genuine interest. 10:50, he reminded her. "Don't be late." "Wouldn't dream of it," Emma said, and stepped out into the hallway, her heart beating considerably faster than it had when she'd entered the wrong room 20 minutes ago. The suite on the 30th floor was ridiculous, not just nice, but ridiculous in the way that made Emma wonder who actually stayed in places like this. The living area had a full sofa, 2 armchairs, and a television the size of her childhood bedroom. The bathroom had a tub that could fit 3 people and a separate rain shower. The bedroom had a bed so large she could probably do cartwheels on it without hitting the edges. She dropped her duffel bag on the pristine white comforter and immediately pulled out her phone to text Sarah. "Emma, you will not believe what just happened." Sarah, "Did you already get kicked out for being too poor? I told you to bring your nice dress." Emma, "I walked into the wrong room and there was a half-naked man in it." Sarah, "What?" Emma, "The hotel gave me the wrong key. His room. He was changing. I saw his back." Sarah, "It was a very nice back." Sarah, "Please tell me you got his number." Emma, "Better. He asked me to dinner." Sarah, "Emma Parker, you've been at this hotel for 20 minutes. Emma, "I know, it's insane. He's probably insane. This whole thing is insane." Sarah, "But you said yes?" Emma, "Yes." Sarah, "That's my girl. We need to get you ready." "What time?" Emma, 10:50, at the lobby. Sarah, "After bachelorette activities? This man is dedicated." "Okay, we're doing dinner and drinks, then coming back here to make you look absolutely devastating." "What's his name?" Emma, "Alexander Hawthorne." There was a long pause. Sarah, "Emma. Emma, please tell me you Googled him." Emma, "Why would I Google him?" Sarah, "Do it right now." Emma switched apps and typed the name into the search bar. The results loaded, and her stomach dropped somewhere into her overpriced hotel slippers. Alexander Hawthorne, CEO of Hawthorne Industries. Net worth estimated at $2.3 billion. Age 32. Featured in Forbes as 30 under 30 5 years ago. Recently broke ground on the largest sustainable housing development in the Pacific Northwest. Frequently photographed at charity galas with various beautiful women in expensive dresses. Billionaire. She'd accidentally walked in on a billionaire. "Oh no," Emma said out loud to her empty suite. "Oh no, no, no." Her phone buzzed. Sarah, "Did you Google him?" Emma, he's a billionaire. Sarah, I know. Emma, he's been on magazine covers. He donated like $50 million to children's hospitals last year. And he asked you to dinner. Emma, this is a mistake. I need to cancel. I can't have dinner with a billionaire. I don't even own dinner with a billionaire clothes. Sarah, you're not canceling. We're going shopping. Right now. I'm coming to get you. Emma. Sarah. Sarah. Room number. Now. 20 minutes later, Sarah burst into the suite like a well-dressed hurricane, followed by 3 other members of the bachelorette party, Monica, Jen, and Keisha. They all looked at Emma with expressions ranging from excited to disbelieving. "Show us the man," Monica demanded, shoving a phone in Emma's face. On the screen was a photo of Alexander from some gala, wearing a tuxedo and looking like he'd been photoshopped by angels. "Is this him? Is this the man whose room you infiltrated?" "I didn't infiltrate anything. The hotel gave me the wrong key," Emma protested, but she was smiling despite herself. And yes, that's him. Although he looks slightly less intimidating when you catch him mid-shirt change. Keisha grabbed Emma's shoulders. "Emma Parker, you beautiful disaster. Do you understand that this man could buy this entire hotel as a casual Tuesday purchase? And he wants to have dinner with you. He probably just feels bad about the whole situation." "Billionaires don't ask women to dinner because they feel bad," Jen said knowingly. She worked in corporate law and claimed she could spot a power play from a mile away. "They send gift baskets, very expensive gift baskets. This man is interested." Sarah was already raiding Emma's duffel bag, pulling out her limited wardrobe with increasing horror. "Emma, sweetie, light of my life. Why did you pack like you're going camping?" "I was trying to fit everything in a carry-on to avoid baggage fees." "We're going shopping." "Now, the hotel has boutiques." "Hotel boutiques are expensive. Not as expensive as showing up to dinner with a billionaire in your Target sundress. No offense to the sundress." "Full offense to the sundress," Monica added. "Emma, you're beautiful, but that dress has seen better days. Specifically, days before you spilled coffee on it." Emma looked down at the stain she'd noticed earlier. "It's not that noticeable." "It's very noticeable," all 4 women said in unison. 30 minutes and 1 minor panic attack later, Emma found herself in a hotel boutique where a single blouse cost more than her weekly grocery budget. Sarah was holding up dresses with the intensity of a general planning a military campaign, while Monica argued with the sales associate about what colors would photograph best. "I don't need to photograph well," Emma protested weakly. "You absolutely do," Monica said. "If you're seen with Alexander Hawthorne, someone will take a picture. That's just how it works when you date billionaires. This isn't dating. This is one dinner. This is him being polite about the worst meet cute in history." Keisha emerged from the dressing room in a silver dress that looked like it cost more than Emma's car. "But what if it becomes more? What if this is one of those crazy stories you tell your grandkids?" "Well, children, I accidentally walked in on your grandfather while he was changing, and the rest is history." "You all need to calm down," Emma said, but she was laughing now, caught up in their infectious enthusiasm. "It's just dinner. I'm going to go, eat some overpriced food, have a nice conversation, and then never see him again." "That's it?" "Sure," Sarah said, not believing her for a second. She held up a dress, simple but elegant in deep navy blue. "This one? Try this one." The dress fit perfectly, which seemed cosmically unfair given Emma's usual luck with clothing. It had a subtle V-neck, 3/4 sleeves, and a skirt that hit just above the knee. The fabric was some kind of material that probably had a fancy name Emma didn't know, soft and structured at the same time. "You look like someone who belongs in his tax bracket," Jen said approvingly. "I can't afford this. Wedding gift," Sarah said firmly. From all of us. Considerate payment for being the maid of honor who didn't complain about the bridesmaid dress. That's because your bridesmaid dresses are actually cute. Exactly. So let us buy you the dinner dress. Please, I need this. I'm living vicariously through you. Emma looked at herself in the three-way mirror. She did look good. More than good. She looked like someone who might actually belong at dinner with a billionaire, even if it was just an illusion created by expensive fabric and good lighting. Okay, she said softly. Thank you. The bachelorette dinner was at an Italian restaurant in the Gaslamp Quarter, complete with too much wine and increasingly embarrassing stories about Sarah's relationship history. Emma tried to focus on the celebration, on her best friend's happiness, but her mind kept drifting to the dinner she'd agreed to. What did you even talk about with a billionaire? Did they discuss normal things like television shows and traffic? Or did the conversation naturally drift to stock portfolios and private islands? You're thinking about him, Sarah said, nudging Emma with her elbow. They were walking to the next bar, the rest of the group slightly ahead of them. The billionaire. His name is Alexander. Ooh, first name basis. Serious. Sarah, what am I doing? This is crazy, right? I should cancel. I should definitely cancel. Sarah stopped walking, turning to face Emma with an expression that was unusually serious. Em, how long have I known you? Since freshman orientation when you threw up in my dorm room trash can. Exactly. 8 years. And in those 8 years, I have watched you play it safe over and over again. You stayed with Daniel for 2 years, even though he was clearly wrong for you, because it was comfortable. You took the job at the marketing firm instead of pursuing freelance design because it was stable. You never take risks. Risks are risky. That's literally in the name. This man asked you to dinner. One dinner. Maybe it goes nowhere. Maybe he's boring in person, or you have nothing in common, or he spends the whole time talking about cryptocurrency. But maybe, just maybe, it's the start of something amazing, and you'll never know if you cancel. Emma wanted to argue, but Sarah had a point. When was the last time she'd done something spontaneous? Something that wasn't carefully planned and risk-assessed? What if I make a fool of myself? Emma asked quietly. Then you make a fool of yourself. He's already seen you walk into his room uninvited. The bar for embarrassment is pretty low. Emma laughed despite herself. That's true. Besides, you look incredible in that dress. Go to dinner. Eat expensive food. Let a hot billionaire look at you like you're the most interesting person in the room. You deserve it. The rest of the bachelorette party blurred together in a pleasant haze of cocktails, laughter, and truly terrible karaoke. Emma sang Total Eclipse of the Heart with Monica, danced to songs she didn't know with Keisha, and took about 100 photos with Sarah, who kept crying happy tears about getting married. It was exactly the kind of night that made you remember why friendship mattered. At 10:30, Emma extracted herself from the group with promises to text updates and warnings from Monica to not do anything I wouldn't do, which leaves you a lot of options. She caught an Uber back to the hotel, her heart beating faster with each passing block. In her suite, Emma did a quick makeup check, reapplied lipstick, and stared at herself in the mirror. The dress still looked good. She still looked like someone who might plausibly belong at dinner with Alexander Hawthorne. But beneath the dress and makeup, she was still just Emma. Emma who had student loans and a tiny apartment and a job she didn't love. What was she doing? Her phone showed 10:47. She could still cancel. Send a text. Claim food poisoning. Apologize profusely. Instead, she grabbed her small clutch, took a deep breath, and headed for the elevator. Alexander was already in the lobby when Emma stepped out of the elevator. He'd changed into a charcoal gray suit, that probably cost more than her entire wardrobe, paired with a black shirt open at the collar. No tie. He looked devastatingly handsome, and somehow more approachable than he had in his hotel room, which didn't seem fair. He saw her immediately, his expression shifting into something that made Emma's stomach flip. It wasn't quite a smile, more like appreciation mixed with something deeper she didn't dare name. "You look beautiful," he said as she approached, and the way he said it made her believe he actually meant it. "You clean up pretty well yourself," Emma replied, aiming for casual and landing somewhere near breathless. "I do try, though I have to say, the half-dressed look was more memorable." His eyes glinted with humor. "Ready for dinner?" "As ready as I'll ever be for dinner with someone I met by breaking and entering." "Technically, it wasn't breaking. You had a key. I'd call it more unexpected entering." They walked toward the hotel's restaurant, which occupied the entire top floor. The elevator ride was quieter than Emma expected, filled with a tension that wasn't quite awkward, but definitely charged. She was hyper-aware of Alexander standing next to her, the subtle scent of his cologne, the way he seemed to take up space without being overwhelming. The restaurant was called Azure, and it lived up to its name with floor-to-ceiling windows offering a panoramic view of the city lights. The hostess greeted Alexander by name and led them to a private corner table that somehow felt intimate despite the open space. "Do you come here often?" Emma asked as they sat down, then immediately cringed. "Oh God, that sounded like a bad pickup line. I just meant the hostess knew you. I stay at this hotel frequently when I'm in town for business. And yes, I've been here before, but never with someone who broke into my room first. You're breaking a lot of patterns tonight, Emma." A waiter appeared with menus and a wine list that Emma didn't even want to look at because she knew she wouldn't recognize most of the names. Alexander ordered a bottle of something French with an ease that spoke of familiarity, then turned his attention fully to her. "So tell me about Emma Parker. What do you do when you're not infiltrating hotel rooms?" "I'm a graphic designer. Small marketing firm, nothing fancy. Mostly corporate branding, some web design. It pays the bills." She paused. "Barely. It barely pays the bills." I don't know why I felt the need to add that. "Honesty is refreshing," Alexander said. "Most people try to make their lives sound more impressive than they are when they first meet someone." "Well, I figure you already saw me at my least impressive, so there's nowhere to go but up." Emma accepted the wine the waiter poured, taking a sip and trying not to react to how good it was. She was used to wine that came in boxes. "What about you? What does a billionaire do all day besides terrify graphic designers?" "You looked up who I am." It wasn't a question. Emma felt her cheeks heat. "My best friend made me Google you. She was convinced you were either a celebrity or a serial killer." "And which did you decide I was?" "Still on the fence. The night is young." Alexander laughed, a genuine sound that made him look younger, less like the intimidating businessman from the photos, and more like someone Emma could actually imagine talking to. "Fair enough. To answer your question, I run a real estate development company. We focus on sustainable housing, urban renewal projects, that sort of thing. It's not as exciting as it sounds." "You literally donated $50 million to children's hospitals." "I think that qualifies as exciting." "You did a thorough Google search." "There were a lot of results. Apparently, you're very important." Important is a subjective term. I have money, which means I have influence, which some people mistake for importance. But at the end of the day, I'm just someone trying to build things that matter. There was something in the way he said it, a sincerity that didn't match the usual billionaire playboy image. Emma studied him across the table, trying to reconcile the man in front of her with the Forbes articles and gala photos. "That's actually kind of beautiful," she said. "Most people with your resources would just buy another yacht." "I have a yacht. It's impractical, and I've used it twice. My sister keeps threatening to turn it into a floating animal shelter. You have a sister? 2, actually. Both younger. Both smarter than me. Both convinced I work too much and need to live a little, which is apparently code for getting married and giving them nieces and nephews. He said it with affection, the kind that came from genuine family love. What about you? Siblings? 1 brother. Older. He's a dentist in Portland, married with 2 kids. My parents love him because he's successful and stable and did everything right. I'm the artist who's still figuring things out at 26. 26 isn't old to be figuring things out. I was broke and sleeping on my business partner's couch at 26. Emma nearly choked on her wine. You? Broke? Shocking, I know. But before Hawthorne Industries became what it is now, it was just me and my best friend from college, trying to renovate 1 building with borrowed money and a lot of optimism. We almost went bankrupt 3 times in the first year. What changed? We renovated a historic building in Seattle, turned it into mixed-use space with affordable housing on the upper floors and retail below. It was a risk, but it worked. That led to more projects, which led to investors, which led to this. He gestured vaguely at himself, at the expensive suit and the private table. Sometimes I miss those early days. Everything was simpler when all I had to worry about was making payroll. The food arrived, courses Emma couldn't have pronounced if her life depended on it. Everything was artfully arranged and tasted incredible. Each bite better than the last. The conversation flowed easier than she'd expected, jumping from topic to topic, without the usual first date awkwardness. Alexander asked about her design work, seemed genuinely interested in her opinions on urban aesthetics. Emma asked about his projects, listened to him describe his vision for sustainable development with a passion that made his eyes light up. You actually care about this, Emma said at one point, surprised. It's not just business for you. Is that so hard to believe? Kind of? I don't know. I guess I expected someone in your position to be more corporate, clinical. You talk about buildings like they're art. They are art, or they should be. Every building shapes the people who use it, affects how they live their lives. That's a huge responsibility. If I'm going to spend my time and resources building things, they should be things that make people's lives better. Emma set down her fork, looking at him with new appreciation. Okay, you're officially not what I expected. Good or bad? Good. Definitely good. Though it does make the serial killer theory less likely, which is disappointing. I had a whole escape plan worked out. Now I'm curious. What was the plan? Fake a bathroom emergency, climb out the window, use the tablecloth as a rope. We're on the 32nd floor. I said I had a plan. I didn't say it was a good plan. They both laughed, and Emma realized she was having fun. Actual, genuine fun. When was the last time she'd been on a date that felt this easy, this natural? Most first dates were exercises in mutual interrogation. Both people trying to figure out if the other person was worth a second investment of time. This felt different, like she was talking to someone she'd known for longer than a few hours. Dessert arrived, some kind of chocolate creation that looked too beautiful to eat, and Alexander asked the question Emma had been half dreading all night. So what's the story with the bachelorette party? You mentioned it was your best friend getting married. Sarah. We met in college, became inseparable basically immediately. She's marrying this guy Tom, who's perfect for her. He's an architect. They finish each other's sentences. It's disgustingly cute. But, Alexander prompted, clearly hearing something in her voice. No but. I'm happy for her. Genuinely. She deserves all the happiness in the world. That's not what I asked. Emma sighed, pushing chocolate around her plate. It's stupid. Try me. It's just, Everyone is moving forward with their lives. Sarah's getting married. My brother has his family. Monica just got promoted to partner at her law firm. Jen bought a house. And I'm still in my tiny apartment with my student loans. And my job, that's fine, but not what I really want to be doing. And sometimes, it feels like I'm the only one standing still while the world moves around me. She hadn't meant to say all that. It was too honest, too vulnerable for someone she'd just met. But Alexander didn't look uncomfortable or like he was about to offer empty platitudes. He just listened, his expression thoughtful. "What do you really want to be doing?" he asked. "I want to do book covers, illustrated book covers for indie publishers. There's this whole community of small presses that need designers, and I love the work. It's creative and meaningful, and every project is different. But it doesn't pay enough to live on, at least not at first. So I keep taking the corporate clients because I need to eat, and the book projects happen in whatever time I have left, which isn't much. Have you thought about transitioning slowly? Building up the book cover business on the side until it's sustainable? That's the plan. Or it was the plan. I don't know. Sometimes I think I'm just making excuses because I'm scared to actually try." Alexander was quiet for a moment, then said, "Can I tell you something my father told me before he died?" Emma nodded. "He said that regret is the only thing you take to your grave. Not your failures, not your mistakes. Those you learn from, they shape you. But the things you didn't try, the risks you didn't take, those are what haunt you. I built my company on that advice. Every major decision I've made has been because I was more afraid of wondering what if than I was of failing. That's actually really helpful. Thank you." "You're welcome. And for what it's worth, I think you should go for the book covers. Life's too short to spend it doing work that's just fine." They talked for another hour, the restaurant gradually emptying around them until they were one of the last tables. Emma learned about Alexander's love of old buildings, his complicated relationship with his mother, who'd wanted him to be a doctor, his secret addiction to terrible action movies. She told him about her first disastrous attempt at freelancing, her dream of one day illustrating her own graphic novel, her irrational fear of birds. "Birds?" Alexander repeated, grinning. "You're afraid of birds? They're dinosaurs. They're literally descended from dinosaurs, and they have weird feet and they move too fast. I'm trying to imagine you running away from a pigeon right now, and it's making my night. Don't laugh. It's a legitimate phobia. There are dozens of us." "I'm not laughing," Alexander said, very clearly laughing. "I'm just appreciating your honesty about your dinosaur fear." Eventually, the waiter appeared with the kind of gentle insistence that meant they really needed to close. Alexander paid the bill without looking at it, which made Emma's stomach twist a little because she knew it was probably more than her monthly rent. They took the elevator down in comfortable silence, and Emma realized with a start that she didn't want the night to end. The lobby was quiet, just a few people at the bar, and a late check-in at the front desk. They stood near the elevator bank, that awkward moment where both people knew the date was over, but neither wanted to be the first to leave. "This was nice," Emma said, which felt inadequate for how much she'd actually enjoyed herself. "Really nice. Thank you for dinner. Thank you for accepting, and for not following through on your window escape plan. The night's still young." Alexander smiled, and there was something in his expression that made Emma's breath catch. "Emma, can I be honest with you? I'd prefer it over the alternative. I'd like to see you again, not because of the room mix-up or because I feel obligated. I want to see you again because I haven't enjoyed talking to someone this much in a very long time." Emma's heart was doing complicated gymnastics in her chest. "I'm flying out Sunday morning, so see me tomorrow, or Sunday before your flight, or—" He paused, seeming to choose his words carefully. Come back. Next weekend or the one after. I'll fly you out, put you up in the suite. No pressure, just more time to talk, to see if this is something. You want to fly me back here to see you again? That's insane. You barely know me. I know you're honest, funny, passionate about your work, afraid of birds, and you don't pretend to be something you're not. That's more than I know about most people I've dated for months. Most people you've dated probably didn't break into your room. Maybe that's why none of them worked out. Alexander took a small step closer, close enough that Emma could see the flecks of darker blue in his eyes. I'm not asking you to marry me, Emma. I'm asking for another date. Say yes. Every logical part of Emma's brain was screaming that this was crazy. You didn't start dating billionaires you met through hotel errors. There was too much difference in their lives, their worlds. It would never work. It was ridiculous to even consider. But Sarah's words echoed in her head. When was the last time she'd taken a risk? Okay, Emma heard herself say. Yes, I'll come back for another date. Alexander's smile could have powered the entire hotel. Yeah, but I'm paying for my own flight. I have boundaries. Fair enough. I can respect boundaries. He pulled out his phone. Give me your number. I'll text you so you have mine. Emma recited her number, watching him type it in. A moment later, her phone buzzed. Alexander. This is Alexander, the not serial killer you had dinner with. Emma laughed, typing back immediately. Emma. Noted. Filed under definitely not suspicious at all. They stood there for another moment, neither moving. Emma knew she should say goodnight, should go back to her suite before she did something impulsive. But Alexander was looking at her like she was a puzzle he wanted to solve, and it was intoxicating. I should go, Emma said, not moving. You should, Alexander agreed, also not moving. My friends are probably waiting to interrogate me. That sounds terrifying. It is. They're very thorough. Tell them I'm not a serial killer. That's exactly what a serial killer would say. Alexander laughed, shaking his head. Good night, Emma Parker. Good night, Alexander Hawthorne. She turned toward the elevator, managed 3 steps before his voice stopped her. Emma. She looked back. Tomorrow. Lunch. Let me show you my favorite spot in the city. I thought you were only in town for business. I'm very good at multitasking. Emma smiled. What time? Noon. Meet me here. It's a date. She made it to the elevator, pressed the button for her floor, and only when the doors closed did she let out the breath she'd been holding. Her phone buzzed with a text from Sarah. Sarah. Well? Emma. I'm seeing him again tomorrow. Sarah. Emma. Parker is playing it risky. I'm so proud. Tell me everything. Now. Emma spent the next 30 minutes on video call with Sarah, Monica, Keisha, and Jen, all of them crowded into Sarah's hotel room and demanding every detail. She told them about the dinner, the conversation, the way Alexander looked at her, like she was worth his full attention. She told them about his offer to fly her back for another date, about the lunch planned for tomorrow. This is like a movie, Keisha said dreamily, a real-life fairy tale. It's 1 date, Emma protested. 2 dates if you count tomorrow. That's not a fairy tale. It could be, Sarah said firmly. Em, I'm serious. This could be something real. I saw the way you looked when you were talking about him. You're glowing. I'm not glowing. That's just the hotel lighting. You're glowing, all 4 women said in unison. After she hung up, Emma got ready for bed, but sleep felt impossible. She kept replaying the evening, analyzing every conversation, every look, every moment. It seemed impossible that 12 hours ago she'd been dreading this weekend because of the cost, and now she was falling asleep, thinking about a billionaire who thought she was interesting. Saturday morning arrived with California sunshine streaming through the suite's massive windows. Emma woke up with a nervous excitement that felt equal parts thrilling and terrifying. She had 4 hours until lunch with Alexander, 4 hours to convince herself this was real and not some elaborate stress dream. She went for a run along the waterfront, trying to clear her head. The city was beautiful, all palm trees and blue sky, and people who looked like they'd never worried about money a day in their lives. Emma wondered what it would be like to live here, to be one of those people for whom expensive hotels and waterfront apartments were normal. Back at the hotel, she showered and agonized over what to wear. Too casual, and she'd look like she didn't care. Too dressy, and she'd look like she was trying too hard. She finally settled on white jeans and a silk blouse, casual but put together. At 11:58, Emma stepped off the elevator into the lobby. Alexander was already there, wearing dark jeans and a navy Henley that somehow looked both casual and expensive. He saw her and smiled, that same appreciative expression from last night. "You're early," he said. "I have a fear of being late. It's up there with the bird thing. I'll add it to the list of Emma Parker facts I'm collecting." He gestured toward the door. "Ready? I hope you like Mexican food." "I'm from California. Liking Mexican food is basically a legal requirement." They walked out into the sunshine, and Emma was surprised when Alexander didn't lead her to a car. Instead, they walked, weaving through tourists and locals, Alexander navigating the streets with the ease of someone who knew the city well. "I thought you only came here for business," Emma said. "I do, but I've been coming here for 8 years. You pick up local knowledge." The restaurant was small, tucked into a side street far from the tourist areas. It had plastic chairs and handwritten menus and smelled absolutely incredible. Alexander was greeted by an older woman who hugged him like family, speaking rapid Spanish that Emma could only partially follow. "Señora Martinez, this is Emma," Alexander said, switching to English. "Emma, this is the woman who makes the best carnitas in California." "The best carnitas in the world," Señora Martinez corrected, shaking Emma's hand warmly. "Alexander, you finally bring a girl here. I was starting to worry about you." "I've brought girls here before," Alexander protested. "You bring business associates. This one is different. I can tell." She winked at Emma. "I get you the good table. You order the carnitas. I don't take no for an answer." She bustled off, leaving Alexander looking slightly embarrassed. "Sorry. She's very direct. I like her. And she's right, you know." "I am different from your business associates. I don't own a briefcase." They sat at a small table in the corner, and Señora Martinez appeared almost immediately with plates of food Emma hadn't ordered. Carnitas, fresh tortillas, rice, beans, and about 6 different salsas. It looked amazing and smelled better. "She doesn't actually let you order, does she?" Emma asked. "Not really. But everything she makes is incredible, so it works out." Alexander picked up a tortilla, building a taco with practiced ease. "I found this place my first month working in San Diego. I was meeting with investors, and the lunch went badly, and I was walking around trying to figure out how to save the deal, and I smelled something amazing. Ended up eating here, and Señora Martinez sat down at my table and told me I looked too stressed for such a young man. Did you save the deal? No, it fell through completely. But I came back here every time I was in town. And eventually Señora Martinez introduced me to her nephew, who's now my head of construction. So it worked out better than the original deal would have." Emma took a bite of her taco and made an involuntary sound of pleasure. "Oh my God, this is incredible. Right, I've tried to hire her as my personal chef. She says she'd rather retire than work for me. Smart woman." They ate and talked, the conversation flowing as easily as it had at dinner. Alexander asked about her design work, and Emma found herself describing projects she'd worked on, showing him samples on her phone. He looked at each one carefully, asking questions that showed he was actually listening and not just being polite. "These are really good," he said, studying a book cover she'd designed for an indie fantasy novel. "The way you've integrated the typography with the illustration, it's seamless. Most covers treat text and image as separate elements." "You know about design?" "I work with architects and designers constantly. You pick things up." He zoomed in on the cover. "This is the kind of work you want to do full-time?" "Yeah, but like I said, it doesn't pay enough yet." "What if it did? What would it take for you to make the jump?" Emma hadn't really let herself think about it seriously. "I don't know. Maybe 6 months of living expenses saved up. Enough to give myself a real chance to build the business without panicking about rent." "What's that number?" "Roughly." "Why do I feel like you're about to offer me money? And why do I need to tell you right now that I can't accept that?" Alexander held up his hands. "I wasn't going to offer you money. I was going to offer you advice. I know people. Publishers, indie presses, book packagers. I could make introductions. You know people in publishing. My sister is an editor at a mid-sized publisher in New York, and I sit on the board of a literacy nonprofit that works with indie presses. I know people." Emma set down her taco, looking at him seriously. "Why would you do that?" "Because you're talented, and you should be doing work you love. And because I can help. So why wouldn't I? We've known each other for less than 24 hours. So? That doesn't change the fact that you're good at what you do and deserve the chance to pursue it." He paused. "Unless you don't want help. I'm not trying to swoop in and fix your life. If you'd rather do it on your own terms, I completely respect that." Emma thought about it. Her first instinct was to refuse, to insist she didn't need help. But wasn't that just pride talking? If Alexander knew people who could give her an actual shot at the career she wanted, why would she turn that down? "Okay," she said slowly. "I'd appreciate introductions. Thank you. Done. I'll email you some contacts next week." They finished lunch, and Señora Martinez refused to let Alexander pay, insisting the meal was on the house. "You bring your nice girl back," she told him. "Don't let this one get away." "I'm working on it," Alexander said, and Emma's heart did that flipping thing again. They spent the afternoon walking through the city, and Emma couldn't remember the last time she'd felt this comfortable with someone new. Alexander showed her his favorite bookstore, a used place with cats sleeping on the stacks and that perfect old paper smell. They browsed for an hour, Emma pulling books and reading him first lines, Alexander defending his love of terrible thriller novels with earnest passion. "I'm a simple man," he said, holding up a book with an explosion on the cover. "I like plots that move fast, and heroes who solve problems by blowing things up. You literally build sustainable housing for a living. You're the opposite of simple. I contain multitudes. Sometimes those multitudes want to read about explosions." Emma laughed, pulling another book from the shelf. "Okay, but have you considered explosions plus mystery? Because I think you'd like this one." They bought a small stack of books each, and Alexander insisted on paying for Emma's despite her protests. Outside, the afternoon was turning golden, that perfect California light that made everything look like a movie set. "I should probably get back," Emma said reluctantly. "Sarah has dinner planned for tonight, actual bachelorette stuff." "Of course. I don't want to monopolize all your time." "You kind of already have. I'm supposed to be here for Sarah's celebration, and I've spent more time with you than with her." "Do you regret it?" Emma looked at him. At the way the sunlight caught in his dark hair, at the slight smile playing at the corner of his mouth. "No, not even a little bit." "Good." They started walking back toward the hotel, not touching, but close enough that their hands occasionally brushed. Each touch felt electric, deliberate. What time is your flight tomorrow? 10 a.m. I need to leave the hotel by 8 to be safe. Have breakfast with me, 7, before you go. You're very insistent on feeding me. I'm insistent on seeing you as much as possible before you leave. Feeding you is just a convenient excuse. They reached the hotel too soon. Emma didn't want to say goodbye, which was ridiculous because she'd see him again tomorrow morning. But still, ending the afternoon felt wrong somehow. Thank you for today, she said. For lunch, for the bookstore, for all of it. Thank you for saying yes when you probably should have said no. Alexander stepped closer, and Emma's breath caught. For a moment she thought he was going to kiss her, but instead he just tucked a strand of hair behind her ear, his fingers gentle. 7 tomorrow. Don't be late. I'm never late. Bird phobia, remember? How could I forget? Emma went back to her suite, spent an hour getting ready for the bachelorette dinner while texting updates to her brother, who was equal parts concerned and amused by the whole situation. The dinner was at a steakhouse, and Emma tried to focus on celebrating Sarah, but her mind kept drifting to Alexander, to the feeling of his fingers in her hair, to the way he looked at her like she was someone worth knowing. You're thinking about him again, Sarah said, catching Emma staring into space with a dopey smile. Sorry, I'm being a terrible maid of honor. You're being a woman who met someone special. I'm not mad. I'm living vicariously. Sarah grabbed Emma's hand across the table. But seriously, Em, what are you going to do? You live here. He lives. Where does he live? Seattle, I think. His company is based there. That's not exactly close. Long distance is hard. I know. We haven't really talked about logistics. We're taking it one date at a time. But you like him. Really like him. Emma couldn't deny it. Yeah, I really do. Which is insane because I don't know him. Not really. But I want to. I want to know everything about him. Then figure out the logistics. Don't let distance or fear or practicality stop you from seeing where this goes. Promise me. I promise. Sunday morning came too early. Emma's alarm went off at 6, and she dragged herself out of the comfortable hotel bed with real reluctance. She packed her bag, checked out, and headed down to the restaurant where Alexander had said to meet him. He was already there, looking unfairly good in a white button-down and jeans, reading something on his phone. He looked up as she approached, and his smile was like sunshine. You made it. I was half afraid you'd escape out a window. The ground floor doesn't have windows high enough to make it dramatic. Emma sat down across from him. Besides, you promised me breakfast. I'm not passing up hotel breakfast. They ordered, and the easy conversation from yesterday continued. Emma told him about the bachelorette dinner, about Sarah's happiness. Alexander told her about a call he'd had with his sister, who was apparently planning to ambush him at some family event. She's on a mission to see me settled down, Alexander said, shaking his head. She sends me profiles of suitable women, like she's running a matchmaking service. Are any of them suitable? They're all perfectly nice, accomplished, appropriate women who I have absolutely nothing in common with. My sister thinks I need someone who fits my lifestyle. I think I need someone who makes me want to have a different lifestyle. He said it while looking directly at Emma, and the implication hung in the air between them. That's a lot of pressure for a third date, Emma said softly. It's not pressure. It's just honesty. Emma, I know this is fast. I know we barely know each other. But I also know that I haven't felt this interested in someone in years, maybe ever. And I don't want to let you get on that plane without knowing if you feel the same way. Emma's heart was pounding. I feel the same way. But Alexander, we live in different cities. You're a billionaire. I'm drowning in student loan debt. Your life is private jets and charity galas. Mine is instant ramen and arguing with my landlord about the broken heater. How does this even work? We figure it out. Together. If you're willing to try. And if it doesn't work, if the distance is too much, or we realize we're too different, then at least we tried. At least we didn't spend the rest of our lives wondering what if. He reached across the table, taking her hand. I'm not asking you to marry me or move to Seattle or change your life. I'm asking if you're willing to see where this goes, one date at a time, but more than one date total. Emma looked down at their joined hands. His was larger, warmer, and holding hers like it mattered. She thought about Sarah's advice, about taking risks, about not letting fear stop her from something that could be amazing. Okay, she said. Let's try. Let's see where this goes. Alexander's smile could have lit the entire city. Yeah? Yeah. But I'm setting some ground rules. I pay for my own flights when I visit. We alternate who travels. And if you ever make me feel like I'm a charity case or a project, I'm out. Deal? Deal. Although for the record, I would never think of you as either of those things. They finished breakfast, and too soon it was time for Emma to leave for the airport. Alexander insisted on riding with her in the car he'd arranged, and they spent the drive to the airport talking about when they'd see each other next. I'm free next weekend, Alexander said. I could fly down Friday night. I work Fridays, but Saturday? We could do a real San Diego date. I'll show you all the non-billionaire spots. I'd like that. At the airport, they stood by the departure drop-off, neither wanting to be the first to leave. Emma knew she looked ridiculous, a woman in her 20s mooning over a man she'd known for less than 48 hours, but she couldn't bring herself to care. I'm going to miss you, she said, surprising herself with the honesty. I'm going to miss you too. Alexander pulled her closer, and this time he didn't stop. He kissed her, soft and sweet and full of promise, and Emma felt something in her chest crack open. When they finally pulled apart, both a little breathless, he rested his forehead against hers. Text me when you land. And Emma? Yeah? Thank you for walking into the wrong hotel room. Emma laughed, tears prickling her eyes for reasons she couldn't quite name. Thank you for not calling security. She made herself step back, grab her bag, walk toward the terminal. At the entrance, she looked back one more time. Alexander was still standing there, watching her with an expression that made her believe this could actually work. She waved. He waved back, and then she walked inside. On the plane, Emma pulled out her phone and texted Sarah. Emma, I think I just agreed to date a billionaire. Sarah, I knew it. Tell me everything when you land. Also, can we be friends with a billionaire? Does that mean free champagne? Emma, you're ridiculous. Sarah, you're in love. Emma, it's been 2 days. Sarah, sometimes 2 days is enough. Emma stared at that last message for a long time. Was she in love? It seemed impossible. You couldn't fall in love with someone in 2 days. That was fiction, fairy tales, not real life. But as the plane took off and San Diego disappeared below her, Emma realized she was smiling. Maybe Sarah was right. Maybe sometimes 2 days was enough to know something was special, enough to take a risk, enough to believe in fairy tales. Her phone buzzed. A text from Alexander. Alexander, already counting down to Saturday. Emma, me too. Alexander, this is going to work. I know it. Emma, how can you be so sure? Alexander, because some things are worth fighting for. And you, Emma Parker, are definitely worth fighting for. Emma read the message 3 times, her smile growing wider each time. Maybe he was right. Maybe this crazy, impossible thing they'd started could actually work. Maybe walking into the wrong hotel room had been the best mistake of her life. She typed back, You're pretty worth fighting for too, Alexander Hawthorne, even if you are afraid of birds. Alexander, I'm not afraid of birds. You're afraid of birds. Emma, my fears, your fears. What's the difference? Alexander, the difference is, you're objectively wrong about birds. Emma, we'll agree to disagree. Alexander, only until Saturday when I prove birds are harmless. Emma, looking forward to watching you try. She put her phone in airplane mode and settled back in her seat. Through the window, California coastline stretched out below, beautiful and golden in the morning light. Somewhere down there was a billionaire who thought she was worth pursuing, who saw past her student loans and her cheap apartment to the person she was underneath. And somewhere inside her was a woman who was finally ready to take a risk, to see where this impossible story might lead. It had started with a wrong hotel room and a half-dressed stranger. But maybe, just maybe, it would end with something real. Something lasting. Something that proved fairy tales could happen, even to ordinary girls with bird phobias and coffee-stained dresses. The plane climbed higher, and Emma closed her eyes, already imagining Saturday. Already counting down the days until she'd see Alexander again. Already believing, despite every logical reason not to, that this was the beginning of something extraordinary. Because sometimes, the best stories started with a mistake. Sometimes, walking